the next day, I'm like, yes, I'm living my best life. Probably got a nice bagel. Yes, let's go to the Halloween parade. Hop into the car. And there she is in her glory. From head to toe in a fucking cow costume. And I'm like, okay, well. Hello, and welcome to the Weeder Life podcast. I'm your host, Erica Weederlight, and I am the CEO and founder of We the Light. I help humans who feel inadequate, broken, self-conscious, and shamed around their sexuality to reclaim their aliveness, their power, and to have a renewed relationship to pleasure while preparing themselves to feel hella confident to date others and themselves. AKA, I'm guiding people to live their #best lives. I have to give you a fair warning. I do unfortunately swear like a drunken sailor, so if you do have little ones by you, just be sure to pop in some earbuds. All right, friends, let's buckle up and let's rock it to this week's episode. Did you hear that exhale? Did you literally hear that exhale? Because for such a fun, literally playful episode, wow, resistance is up and kicking. So I'm kind of laughing at the cosmic joke that it's all about play, it's all about expansion, it's all about fun, it's all about, it's okay to make mistakes, like it doesn't have to be perfect. And the inner perfectionist in me and the inner critic, really the inner like rude adult, is like, that's okay. Let's avoid this topic like the plague. Even today I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to give myself this dare. Like I'm going to give myself this challenge. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later, it more in depth, but I was like, okay, like I'm going to, because the topic is play, I'm going to change it up. Like I am type A on certain things, some things I'm not, but for work things, I'm usually quite type A. So I have my recording. Like I always record, depending. If I travel, it's a different, and you've heard this before, sometimes I push an edge, but I usually like to record in a certain space. It makes me feel calm, but really I'm like, it's perfect. It's perfect sound. It's perfect this. And today I was like, let's play an edge. Like where's the most playful place I can record? And so I totally changed it up and I was like, oh, yeah, like, fuck yeah, I'm doing it. And then like now I'm doing it and I'm like, help. And it's so funny. And we're going to talk about this, like the deep resistances, obviously to pleasure, which we talk about all the time, but play. And so today I was like, I'm going to make it fun. Like we're going to talk about this in a way that's like playful and fun, and I'm going to record in an exciting new way. And I'm like, ooh, like it sounds easy. This sounds easy. This dare, this challenge sounds easy. And yet it pushes us, against so many of our edges. Like right now, big stories for me are coming up is, well, this is not the professional way. What if the sound isn't as good? What if it goes to the worst case scenarios? And I had to sit with myself because I started recording and I was like, what is happening? Like I need to pause. So I paused, I went inward. I'm like, what's going on? What's happening here? And I found that for me, even though the perfectionist thing is uncomfy, like who wants that, right? Like it doesn't feel great. It feels safe. So yes, it gives me anxiety. Yes, it makes me scratch. It's like a scratchy fucking sweater that you're like, oh god, this is a little scratchy. I know it like the back of my hand. I don't know why we use that because I actually don't really know the back of my hand, but I know it really, because everyone's like, I know it like the back of my hand, and I'm actually looking at the back of my hand right now, and I know it pretty well, but I don't know it that well. But that's neither here nor there. There's a familiarity, right, with the uncomfort, weird dance of, for me, this is good, didn't think this was coming up, like being rigid. So like it fucking sucks, like it doesn't feel good, but I know it really well there, and it does give me like some like kinky satisfaction. Like there's some interesting old stories that are like, yeah, it doesn't feel good, but it's itching a weird scratch. Yeah. Like it's weirdly satisfying for me. And so play feels really unnecessary. And again, like I said this before, we've talked about all, and there's more, of our objections to pleasure, but damn, at least for me, play is worse. Like for me, I have 5 million more objections to play versus pleasure. It just feels, I don't know why. Well, I do know why, and we'll go into it, but for me, play feels even more vulnerable. Yeah. It's the vulnerability piece for me. Hashtag Brene Brown. But it's the vulnerability piece for me that it doesn't feel as safe. Where for me, sometimes pleasure, and they ebb and flow, our relationships change. But for me, pleasure, I can kind of like rinky dink around. Like there's a little bit of a slithering energy. Take that. That doesn't have to be good, bad. It doesn't have to be labeled as either. But there's like a little bit more snake-like slithering room that could happen. Like I can move pleasure, and it doesn't feel as charged. Maybe because honestly, because this idea of how I relate to pleasure is so new to me. You know what I mean? Like obviously I've had pleasure my whole life, but like how I'm relating to it as an adult is like it's a new definition. So maybe for me that's why there's not as much charge around it. You know what I mean? I'm like, oh, okay. Like, yes, my shit still comes up around it, but like, okay, like I could try to prioritize this, or I could go deep into this. Like for me, I wonder if that's why. Where play, it's like we have play like that. We've known play since we're kids. I mean, I'm in my 30s, and I still, when I hang out with my friends, I say, "Do you want to have a play date?" Like. I mean, I'm like, when do you want to have a play date? Like that play is so ingrained in us. And I think there's so many more colors, textures, stories. Again, this is my belief. And, you know, well, they both hit. I was going to say then pleasure, but I feel like a lot of us, and I don't want to, you know, we give pleasure we give pleasure so much attention, and this is about play today. But we'll end this with the pleasure combo. But I feel like there's a lot of, you know, like stick and gross around pleasure. Like, ew, that's dirty. Like it's like the moist vibe. You know what I mean? Like pleasure is gross and unnecessary and like blah. Like that's the vibe. Where play, again, for me and for some clients that I've talked to about this recently, like it can it's fun, of course, but like the underbelly, the shadow of it, like lurches up some things in my tummy. You know what I mean? Like pleasure, there's more of like a disgust. Like the shadow brings more of a disgust and like a Ice Queen vibe of like, ooh, pleasure, unnecessary. You know, like that's, oh, Julie Andrews. Oh, that wasn't my best Julie. Oh, forgive me. But there is a little bit of a little, you know, looking down at her nose and disgust, unnecessary. You know, like that, like a little bit of, ooh, lower class. You know, like it's that vibe. Where play, I feel like it hits the tum. It hits like underneath the chest of like play. Like there's play. There's things. Apparently now I'm Voldemort, but there's like that hits like a oof, because there's so much around play. And we'll go into it, but let's just rattle off a few. You know, it's like when we're kids, it's play is so welcomed and normalized and amazing, and then it gets to a certain point where you're shamed for playing. You're too old to play with Barbies. You're too old to do that, to wear dress up. You're too this, you're too that. Like it's like this weird boop where you're done, and it's like an aggressive shake. And for lots of us, not all of us, which is fab, there's big shame and big stoppage. So it's not like this beautiful initiation, which like I dream of, and I hope if I become a parent one day, I could bring this into my hashtag conscious parenting. But there's not like a beautiful bridge of, okay, we're transitioning into, a different time in your life, and play is still welcome. Play is still encouraged. And these new responsibilities or these new things are welcome. So instead of, like I know for me, like I want to bring that always into the conversation, because now, again, I'm an adult and I'm trying to reparent myself and bring play into the mix. So I would like to not only continue to parent myself around play and remember that it's okay and it's welcome, but also if children in my life happen, be that example for them. I really try to be that example for my beautiful, beautiful angelic angel. My beautiful angelic angels. My beautiful angelic nephews. I really try, and I definitely am the crazy aunt. Like fully textbook, absolutely textbook, crazy wild aunt, but it's kind of with intention. I mean, some of it I can't help myself. I'm wild. So some of it I'm just fabulous. What do you want me to say? But a big part of it is I want them to have permission, and their parents are phenomenal parents as well that give them permission to play, and that it's okay to have expression. It's fabulous to have expression. And again, they probably like, oh my God, this lady is absolutely whacked. But I want them to have someone in their life that's an adult and is doing adulting things, and also remembers fun and remembers play and remembers joy. And so, yes, stereotypical wacky tacky aunt, but also there is a deeper purpose intention that you can be an adult, you can do and have structured things and function, and also beyond just functioning, because we're, here more than just to fucking function, we can thrive, we can enjoy, we can play, we can have a fucking good time. All right? Have a fucking good time. So, again, that's what I'm talking about with the conscious parenting piece, whether I'm parenting or anting with my nephews, whether children happen, whether I'm just consciously reparenting myself. It's that belief system of, hey, we're in a different phase right now. And what else are we taking on? Like I said, what new responsibilities are we taking on? And how can we, in this new chapter, add play? Because play is a relationship. It's just like pleasure. It's always supposed to be ever changing. It's funny too. I was going to say this, and we talked about this with the episode with Eleanor. You're going to be like, what the fuck? What is this connection? But go with me. Same with our relationship with money. So often we have this like have this like stagnant, hard, heavy relationship to money, and to all of these things, to money, to pleasure, to play. It's like they feel stuck in their ways. And really, a big gift that we can give ourselves is when we have freedom around those things. Like, we want our relationship to money to be ever changing. We don't want it to just be like that old stuck thing that's on the counter that we're like, oh yeah, I know you. It's like, no, like, let's work with it. What's coming up? Let's dance around it. Let's have a new relationship with it. And same with this, same with pleasure and play. Like, as adults, we're not supposed to, I hate that fucking shit, but go with me. It wouldn't behoove us to have the child relationship. This is going to sound incorrect, but go with me on this for a moment. Relationship we have to play. So what I mean by that is, of course, we still have the childlike relationship to play, and I'm going to talk about that. And let me just go into it right now. Like, yeah, I want us to have childlike wonder, because there's nothing worse than feeling jaded and like, I've seen this. This is a sidebar. I think I've talked to you about this. I must have talked to you about this before, but I remember, this is so LOL. So I remember I went to, I think, it doesn't really matter, to the Acropolis with my mom and my parents, my mom and my dad. And by now, Nora. If you don't, she's basically Teresa Caputo meets Carmelo Soprano. She's just fabulous. And we're in Greece, we're in Athens, we're at the Acropolis. And I'm having like a fucking spiritual experience. Well, first and foremost, you have to like hike, and I wore I'm not kidding you, I wore furry in the summer. Black furry sandals. I was like, oh, okay, Erica, we love a good hike. We love a good hike in sandals. So I'm like trudging it up the Acropolis, but I'm like, fuck you schmuck. Why did you not wear sneakers? And I'm like, I don't have sneakers. But I'm like, it's all right. I'm here. I'm going to have play. I'm going to have pleasure. I'm like climbing up the fucking Acropolis. Like, I'm like, all right, we're here. We're in Greece. I'm going to enjoy every minute. And so I was like, wow, that was beautiful. That was emotional. Like, oh my God, loved it. And I came down, down the hill. I don't think Nora made it all the way up, and she's, chain smoking. And I'm like, that was magical. That was beautiful. She's like, you seen one ruin, you seen them all. I was like, you jaded bitch. She's like, I come on. I'm in my 60s. It's a bunch of fucking rubble. What do you want from me? I want to go to the gift shop. I'm like, all right, God bless. And I say that with love because I teased her. I'm like, Mom, have childlike wonder. And she's like, I'll have childlike wonder once I get a new purse, So I was like, oh my God. But I laugh, and I would, I tell her that I would tell her this, and I did tell her this. I'm like, oh, like, as absolutely LOL and hilarious as that is, and she is joking because she's the queen of jokes, but there is some, and this is not like to diagnose Nora because no one diagnoses Nora. She's my angel baby. But there is some numbness. So this is not about that particular situation, but there is some like, as we grow older, there is some like numbness, whatever, laissez-faire, not even laissez-faire, but like, just like, about everything. And I was like, bitch, we are, and I think, this is how I talk to her, and we like cackle. I'm like, bitch, we are in Greece. Get it together. You're going to climb up that mountain, sweating and all. I wore furry fucking flip-flops, and you're going to live your best life. Like, you're going to laugh, and you're going to pretend like you're Aphrodite and Dionysus, bitch. And again, like, I'm not going to hop on her map, but there is this as adults, and this is not just Nora, this is all of us, because Nora actually, I could give a whole episode on her. She actually is great with play. So much where she dresses up just all the time. And we actually, we were told to stop dressing up because she comes to everything dressed up. Like, she wears elves costumes, like, too much. Santa costumes, the bunny, like, she can't see where she's going because she's wearing a bunny head. Literally crying. I have tears in my eyes. She went to one more funny story and then I'm done. But my nephews had a Halloween parade, and we're like, yes. And I was home because LOL, this is a tale for another day. But I got hurt in a women's retreat, and that story is LOL. But I got hurt, so I was at home, like full cast, doing it up. And so it was Halloween. I was like, yes, this is my favorite holiday, and we're going to my nephew's parade. Like, this is where I thrive. Like, this is my happy spot. And so, the day before, because God forbid we have to do everything years early. We can't do anything last minute. She's like, come in the garage. I'm like, oh okay. Chain smoking a blast. And as she's blowing the streets, she blows the streets, and she picks off each individual leaf. I'm like, Mom, it's fall. She's like, no, not on this street. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, all right. So she's blowing the street, smoking her cig, and I, go into the garage, and she's like, pick a costume. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. Okay, we're wearing costumes. So I, wore cute little, it's a parade. I have a cast on. I can't go full ham. And like, don't want to embarrass the kids, don't want to be that crazy aunt. And well, I kind of do. But I was like, I'll give like a touch of crazy aunt, but also like, be fair. So like, did a cute witch hat, like a cute little witch look, Namen. You know what I mean? So got the witch look. Yes, we're casting spells. Great. And I'm like, what'd you get? She's like, no, don't worry, I have mine. I was like, oh, okay. So nevertheless. Anyway, comma. The next day, I'm like, yes, I'm living my best life. Probably got a nice bagel. Yes, let's go to the Halloween parade. Hop into the car. And there she is in her glory. From head to toe in a fucking cow costume. And I'm like, okay, well, and meanwhile, like, I egg this on. Like, I'm like, stop. Like, I'm not like, stop. I'm like, yes. Like, meanwhile, I'm like, let's listen to the Addams Family. Like, I think it's I'm horribly behaved. I think it's the funniest thing in the world. So I have like tears in my eyes. I'm like, yes, the Addams Family, wear that cow costume. So we're heading to the parade. We're live, laugh, loving. We're like, aha, we love Halloween. And we arrive, and here we are at the parade, and all the kids are so fucking cute. And yay, 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 Halloween. This is Halloween. This is Halloween. And we get out, and not a soul, not a parent in sight wearing a costume. So, nope. No adult. I literally am crying. No, I literally have tears in my eyes right now. No adult was wearing a costume. So Matt, like, wearing witch hat, like, that's a little embarrassing. Like, oh, okay, like, I'm wearing a witch hat, like, among, like, 200 adults. Like, a little weird. Imagine wearing a fucking cow costume. I'm like, she's wearing a cow costume. And again, not embarrassed. I was like fucking crying. I was like, this is gold. This is gold. Just the best. And so I'm like, Mom, we're the only people in costume. She's like, listen, you got to do it for the kids. Like, and that's so sweet. She's like, you got to do it for the kids. It's all about the kids. It's fine. I don't care. Screw the adults. They need to have more fun. So I was like, all right, like, God bless, I guess. And so she's not embarrassed. She's proud in her cow costume. She's doing her thing. And then, I'm not kidding, I actually have documentation. It was the Addams Family playing on the loudspeaker on the field. And she takes her tail. She's whipping it. Like, she's embodying the cow. Like, I'm like, oh, like, not even wearing a cow costume, fully whipping her hair, whipping the tail. I was like, okay, yes. So just, and again, horrible influence. I'm just cackling as I'm videoing. Like, I'm a horrible influence. Like, then cut to, probably this whole scene is absurd because there's a woman, an adult grandmother, wearing a cow costume, flipping her tail, dancing and snapping to the Addams Family, like, yeah, Morticia Addams. And then her adult daughter, with a full cast and crutches, in a witch getup, is filming her cackling wildly. So I'm like, why does no one want to talk to us? Like, that visual, like her visual alone is like truly LOL, but like, you zoom out and wow, what a special sauce. So I'm like, yeah, dance. And then, like, I'm like, where's my sister? And like, I could be here all day because she's dancing, we're having a great time. And I'm like, where's my sister? And as it has, she physically ran away from us because we were those two people. She literally, and people are like, is that your mom and sister? She's like, don't look at them. So always here to serve. But I had to share that because as much as I shaded Nora about the Acropolis, she really is a nightmare in the best way possible and does do shit like this. So, but what I was gonna so just, I hope whatever you take away today, I really hope you imagine a grandmother smoking in a cow costume and just dancing and living her best life. That and then with no adults dressed up, that really was the cherry on top. And then my sister, you'd think, would be like, thank you so much for coming to the parade. She was like, never again. And after, she's like, I'm gonna kill you both. I'm like, I'm sorry, we had a great time. The ever tales of Erica and Nora. But we're gonna scroll back with, even though Nora was hashtag joking about the Acropolis, there is like a jadedness in us, not in us, but like was taught to us, right? That like, okay, you're not a kid anymore. You shouldn't be doing that anymore. So there's like a big shame wrong story. And I know for me personally, I think there's many reasons. My parents were actually super encouraging of play. Like again, this is the woman that's dressed up in the cow costume, so are we surprised? So they did a phenomenal job at still encouraging, and it makes sense why I think everything is hilarious around these absurd events. But they did a great job at encouraging play. But I think for me, and I won't, diagnose myself in this conversation with you, but I'll give you a hint because it affects us each differently. I think for me, and I won't get too crazy into it, but because I grew up with a learning disability and I always felt like, oh my gosh, I'm stupid. And I always felt like I had to overcompensate. First of all, we know that we do that, for me, I did that with my humor. And God bless, you know what I mean? Like it actually made me, there's lots of cons to it, but it really did make me a yeah, it did, and that's not a good thing. It did make me a people person. It made me want to connect with others. It made me want to bring joy and laughter to others. So there was so many pros that if I was in normal mainstream classes, I wouldn't have had, like, this like gave me, I think it gave me an edge, period, which brought so many good things. And obviously there's a little bit of a shadow and an underbelly to that. But it did give me so many good things. Because if I was like in regular classes, I became who I was because I felt like I had to kind of create my own path. And with that being said, so that was great, right? Like it helped me with my personality. It helped me wanting to connect to so many different people. Fabulous, fabulous. We absolutely love it. And that was like what was conscious. And I was like, fuck yeah, like you're not going to tell me, like I'm going to make my own path. And I like that I'm different. That was more of like the woo, yes to it. The shadow at which now I'm identifying later in life is, oh, okay. On the outside, I'm saying, all is well. It's okay. Don't worry about me. I'm going to network. I'm going to have a great time. I'm going to laugh. But there was some crunchy crawlies under the surface of, hey, you're different and you're going to have to work a lot harder. Because those kids, they could just go to class and they take their test and they do their things. And that's not fucking true. But that was the story from a teenage perspective and a middle school perspective. But you have to work a lot harder. You have to razzle dazzle. And I quite frankly did. You have to razzle dazzle your teachers. I don't think I ran the mile once in high school. One time I I was like, listen, I'm not going to sweat in the middle of the day. I just straightened my hair. And she's like, God damn it, we are late. She's like, well, then what are you going to do? I'm like, how about this? I'm in the musical Chicago. I will sing you my solo. I was like, I am playing. Who was I playing? Not Roxy Hart. Help me. Do I have to Google this? The name on everybody's lip. That's Roxy Hart. Who was the character I was playing? Oh, man. Velma Kelly. There it was. I had to pause the recording. I was like, Erica, you don't need to Google this. You could find this in the depths of your soul. Also, the visual of what was it? 15, 14-year-old playing a murderous Velma and sexualized Velma Kelly. So she's like, fine, waiter, like, give me what you got. So I never really had to run the mile. So I would stand on the sidelines and be like, I'm sick. No, but I'd stand on the sidelines and I'd show her and I'd sing to her and she thought I was the funniest thing. So I'd be like, what is that song? Oh, All That Jazz. Yeah, I'd be like, and I'd do my little choreography. I'd do my little Bob Fosse, little roll of the shoulders. I'd be like, and all that jazz. Like, imagine, again, another crazy situation when you outfocus, when you bird's eye view. Like, why is so many children running the mile? And then there's this one girl on the side bribing her teacher, usually with Starbucks, singing and dancing to All That Jazz. Truly LOL. Like, I was like, no, I'm no one's wife, but like, you're no one's wife, honey. You're 14 years old in your juicy jumpsuit. What are you talking about? Again, crazy situation. But how the fuck did we get here? There's so many reasons why we got here, but really Really, it was, and it was fun. Like, again, I wouldn't change it for the fucking world, because I was like, this is fun and absurd, just like the cow dance, to be dancing and singing and cackling. Like, it made me not be a schmoozer, because I feel like that's there's a negative connotation. I remember one time in college I had a voice lesson because I went to school for musical theater and that was part of the curriculum. And she's like, yes, 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 like, sure, musical theater for you, but there's something more. I was like, I gotta be honest, I kind of want to be a professional schmoozer. And like, not in a bad way, but like, I want to connect with people, I want to live, laugh, love, I want to cackle. And I really learned that through my learning disability, because I felt like I had to, again, there's an underbelly, but I felt like I had to overcompensate. Would I change it for the world? Literally no. Like, literally no. It's made me who I am. And like I said, that underbelly is, hey, babe, I know it's fun, but you're going to have to work a lot harder than anyone else. So the idea of play then really, for me, felt, this is not available for you. That's nice for people who could just go to school and do their things. Like, they can have this is how it works, Arca. But like, they can have concentrated play. Like, they can go and have playtime. But for you, you don't have that. Ooh, it's so sticky. And so for all of us, there's different reasons, and to different capacities, right? Again, like, I grew up in a family where my mom's wearing fucking elf costumes all the time. So like, play was quite encouraged, quite welcome. My dad and I are literally two goons that inappropriately laugh at everything at the most inappropriate moments. Like, we need to be shunned. Like, we literally just cackle at each other. Like, most of the time we don't talk. We're just like, ha ha ha. So like, again, play, very welcome in the Weederlight household. However, Erica took it upon herself and said, yeah, this isn't safe. And you could be playful. You could have play, Erica, when you're singing all that jazz, right? Like, when you could use that playfulness within business transactions, but within getting ahead sounds sleazy, but like, functioning. There it is. So like, you could add your play because that's your special sauce, but like, you actually don't really have it for yourself. Does that make sense? Which is like, damn, that's so sad. But there was a part of me that was like, that needs to die now or I won't function. And I remember I had a little bit more play once I got to college, and I was like, no, it's okay. It's okay. And then I had a little bit too much play my freshman year, and my grades reflected it. And I remember I was like, motherfucker. Like, there was a lot of shame. It really was like my learning disability wound heightened times 4 million. And I was like, fuck. And so I was like, Erica, like, the story was, Erica, you're not like a normal person. You can't just take this class and like party and be okay. Like, you need to go above and beyond. And so that really solidified that story. At the time, I was like, fuck it. You know, like, first of all, like, my first reaction was like, I'm going to play. And then I was like, no, I'm having anxiety. I need to pass this class. And let me tell you, and there's a positive and a little bit of an underbelly, is a few years later, I had the teacher, because she did embarrass me. You want to hear a quick tale? Today's been full of tales, all about play. But I got to the next class, whatever, like, we were in the next class a semester or a year later, and we're in probably 30 to 45 minutes in the middle of class. And I'm like, yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a great year. I'm more focused this year, you know, because I'm living through shame and I'm going to make myself wrong. But I have a fresh notebook and I went to Staples and have new pens. So I was like, I'm ready. And we're in the middle of class and we're doing the things. Again, this is musical theater, so people are singing and pianos are going. Weederlight. I'm like, hello. You know, like, hi, how are you? Yes. And why are you here? And I'm like, because this is part of my major. Of course I'm here. And she's, with the whole classroom, says, you failed this class. Failed this class before. That was a prereq. Get out of here. And it was all jovial. And again, because I have a joking demeanor, it was ha ha ha. But I was like, ha ha ha. You just went into my wound of deep programming. So thank you so much. But let me tell you a little story between you and I. Again, there's a positive, there's an underbelly. I then had her maybe 2 years later, and this was like, everyone's like, get ready. This is the toughest class. And I'm like, not today. Again, it was fueled with some weirdness, but I fucking rocked it. And I showed up. And it was hot. Again, like it validated, like, yes, bitch, you can do anything. You could do it. I'm proud of you. Yes, it may have to be in a different way than others, but you go. And I actually in college, I was in like kind of like the resource room in college. Like I had the option. I had someone like, because I had an IEP, like validating like, hey, if you want to take your tests outside of the classroom, you could take this in this like beautiful like lounge, like that way from away from people because you need extra time. And sometimes I would do it. Honestly, sometimes I was too lazy. I was like, I don't give a shit. But sometimes I would do the tests there to like give myself space and whatever. This class, the woman's like, I hear this is a really hard class. So let's coordinate with your teacher and get you in this. And I was like, no. I was like, I'm taking the tests live. I was like, I'm doing it live. Damn it, I'm doing it live. And I did. And I was really proud of myself. And it was hot. Like, it was hot because I'm like, I achieved something. And it was like that, like, yeah, I achieved. But the underbelly of the, yeah, I achieved was, fuck, that was really hard. And you're going to have to, which is fine, but you're going to have to overcompensate. You're going to have to twist and be malleable. You're going to have to do everything in your power to just get by. So play, yeah, right, bitch. There's not space for that. There's not room for that. And everyone looks at you as being so funny and playful and LOL right now. You don't want to come off like a fucking clown. You don't want, so you need to zip that in the bud. You need to nip that in the bud. So you could still be your personality. Don't change yourself, but like, let's not be indulgent. That's a big story. Let's not be indulgent and add unnecessary play. That's not necessary. So that's my kind of origin story. Do you feel like you're my therapist? I'm like, should I grab a tissue and lay on the couch? But that's my personal origin story. We all have them. Yours may be a different flavor. Yours may come up in this way. Yours may have come up from, and there's other reasons why too that I'm not really crazily getting into, but this is one big one. The school thing for me really ticked me in a nice way. But I have other experiences as well that really ripped my playfulness away from me. And we all have different varying variables and stories that have almost like made us lose this like luster and excitement for life. And like I said, was Nora right? Yeah, it is a bunch of fucking rubble. But like, it is a bunch of fucking rocks. But the power of play and the power of pleasure, but really let's go on the power of play, that whore. The prostitution whore. The power of play is that we can look at a bunch of fucking rocks and, especially in this situation, have gratitude of, holy shit, I'm so grateful that I'm allowed to go to Greece and I have the resources. What a blessing. First of all, a little hashtag gratitude in there. But really, okay, it's a bunch of rocks. How am I going to have fun with this? How am I going to play with this? Instead of that like jaded, meh, not impressed by anything. And why I told my tales is I felt like the way I could be successful is if I wasn't impressed with anything. Because, here it is. With play, you're more innocent. You're more open. And I felt like I was too innocent. I was too open, which is why I kind of got like nailed a little bit. And if I was already viewed as stupid, as dumb, as less than, then fuck no, I'm not going to go towards play. Because play has that innocence. Play has that open-eyed curiosity. And some may think it's stupid. It's absolutely not. It's a different quality. But my brain was like, I don't care. I know it's playfulness is not stupidity, but maybe others don't. So I'm not even going to touch that. There it is. I'm not going to touch that because though they are very different, in actuality, having the ability to play is really connected to our emotional intelligence, you know, and there's so much. But I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, I am not going anywhere near anything that's going to make me look more stupid than I already am, or how I'm being presented. So, okay, I have to be rigid. I have to blood, sweat, and tears. That fucking sucks. But okay, like, does it get me out of this story that I'm stupid? I'll do it. And the validation, I mean, still people will tease me, and I'm like, okay, yeah. But I celebrate that I've done some pretty cool things, which is fab. And again, this is the hashtag of the episode of the underbelly, has been, so the great things like, holy fuck, I just did this amazing talk at part of the United Nations. Like, I did their subsection, like their cultural department. I did a talk at the fucking United Nations. Oh my God, I worked an event at New York Fashion Week. Oh my God, I was published in Cosmo, or whatever. Like, these accolades are like, yes, how fucking cool. And it like is like, oh my God, I am so proud of you, E. And then the underbelly is, see, you better not go into play. It like validates you're making it so far, honey. Don't lose sight now. Keep going. The story of put your head down, get, you know, and this feels good. So just blood, sweat, and tear it and make it hard. And you got it. You got it. You got it. So these stories, or these accolades, whatever the fuck they are, these celebrations, they're fab. They're hot. They're exciting. I'm thrilled. More, please. Yes. And it solidifies play is not welcome here. Play is not safe here. Which, fuck, you know? And I've had to unpack a lot of that. And to be honest, this pleasure challenge that if you haven't listened to it, scroll back to the last few episodes, we've been doing a pleasure challenge. And for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm seeing the crunchies here. But I'm like, motherfucker, like, play is the big bitch for me. Like, it's play for me. My crunch is around play. Which has been great because I've already unpacked this for a really long time. And now it's coming to a new head because I'm in a new place in my life. And I remember, it's funny, I'm a fucking pleasure coach, so I've been in this world for fucking years, and I've worked with literally so many pleasure coaches, right? Like, within getting my certifications or trading services or paying people, like, literally worked with them all. I'm grateful for it. God bless. Thank God. And I remember then I met a play coach, and not like a play coach, like a play coach, you know, wink, wink. No, like a play, like, haha, we're gonna throw bouncy balls, like that type of play. Literally the nicest human, fantastic. But before I like got into session with her, I was like pissed. I was like, this is not hot. My ego was like, this is not sexy. Like, I want a pleasure coach, you know, like I want to lay on a chaise lounge, like, and wear, you know, red velvet, play, ew. And so I was like having aversions to, aversions, is that the right word? I'm like notoriously don't know, like I used to think tundra meant like abundance. So I'd be like, oh, it was a tundra of clothes. And people are like, it was an Arctic like an Arctic chill. I was like, no, tundra is like abundance. They're like, no, it's not. So, aversion. Yeah, I think aversion is the right word. Aversion, objection. We'll use objection. I read a lot, so you'd think I know a lot of words, but it takes me a while for it to stick. But I have an objection to this pleasure coach. I'm like, ew, like I want red roses, and she's talking about fun. And I uncovered a lot of the reasons why it didn't feel safe. I was like, bitch, you have no idea. That's not available for me. That's nice that you could, you know, talk to people all day about fun, but like, LOL, not for me, but that's cool. Loves ya. And so it really unpacks some of my shit. And again, we each have this to a different level. But the point of this episode is really for us to zero in on our relationship to play. But if you're like, I'm pretty Gucci gang, like, okay, like what about pleasure? Okay, what about joy, holding joy in your body? Okay, what about feeling safe? Like, we could each have our own thing, but I know for a lot of us, because we're in a society, I feel like we kind of all come out unscathed with this. Different varying reasons, but I think we're all affected by the fact that we don't feel like we're allowed to play. Also, it's like, it's unprofessional. It's weird. In addition to my other shit, I actually wrote this down. So I said there's an array of reasons that we're resistant to play. These are a lot of my top dogs and that I hear a lot. For me, it kicks up, like I said, safety things. Like, it's not like if I play, for me, it feels like an all or nothing story. Like, if Erica plays, Erica knows how to play hard. So like if Erica, and I mean that like innocently, like I'm like, yes. So, and there's a story in me, like, you're too dumb to get it together. So like, you can't play because then like you're gonna like go to like the worst case scenario. Like, I'll never have a job then because I'm gonna be too playful. It's like, what? But like, that's where the brain goes for me and for a lot of us. Like, I'm like, if I'm playful, then I won't be productive, which means I will never have clients again and I'll never help anyone again, and then I'll be in poverty. It's like, what? But like, that is where play feels so threatening to me that it just does not feel safe. So it's not even like, it just is like, no, don't let them enter the chat, because if they enter the chat, they will take over, and this is around our safety. So for me, it's like actually a safety thing. I'm curious about you. There's also a narrative here, which like, again, like my mom's dancing in a cow costume, so like you would be surprised, and I'm thinking it's the funniest thing in the world. There is a little bit of a cool kid story. It's not my biggest story, but there is like a cool kid element of like, because I was such a fucking freak as a child, like, and not really, like, I was such a cute little angel, but like, I live, laugh, loved. I love to play. Probably a little bit too late. I'm like, let's play Barbies. They're like, you're 15. No, I'm kidding. But they're like, you're 10 or 11. And I was like, oh, is that not cool anymore? Love to shake the Barbies. Love to shake the hair, love to dress them up. This is very innocent. Why? Like, I love my American Girl dolls. I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm like, quite frankly, like a child, and I'm not allowed. It's like not cool. So I think, again, not my top dog, but there is a narrative of like, and again, like, I'm a fucking weirdo. Like, in ways, I'm putting out this extremely vulnerable, and we're not like, no one's no one's this or that. We're so much deeper and have so much more texture. So in some ways, you'd be like, that's so unlike you, Erica. But it's like, because I am putting out a fucking podcast talking about so many deeply personal things where people that I'm not dying for them to have access to, but I've had to make peace with that because my mission is more important, So I'm like, oh, I don't want someone, from this part of my life to hear this because it's vulnerable and I don't feel safe around them. But I'm like, you know what? Like, that is the sacrifice I've had to I'm cool with making to be of service to others. So like, all right, fuck it. We're doing this. And then and I'm like talking about being a cow and I like sing to you half of the time. So like, that's hella playful, silly, goofy. Some could call it dumb. But then there's another token again that like is really, really underbelly of like, be the cool kid. Don't be. And I never really am the cool kid. Like, I'm like, I'm myself and I don't give a fuck. So it's funny that like, I'm like, I really don't care because being cool is a waste of time. But there is a little bit of a story like, okay, Erica, like, you could be a freak, but like, don't be like, all right, don't be like actually a freak. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bandwidth of like, you could be like weird in yourself, but like, all right, then there's a place where you stop. Like there's an end point. And so that's a story too. Like, there's a tale in me of like, you don't want to be like that fucking weird and like that playful. So like, put your head down and do the norm. And I don't really do the norm, but like, there is a thing of like, just put your head down and like, do what you're supposed to and like fit in with the trends. Again, I don't really fit in with the trends, but you get what I'm saying, right? Like, there is a little bit of that narrative too, which I think a lot of us hold. Like, I don't want to be a fucking weirdo. And like, I don't want to play. It feels too vulnerable, not safe, uncomfy. There's like, just do the status quo. Just do the status quo, which is like, oh no, I hate that, but that's a thing. And for me, I wrote down, it's actually it's actually harder to get into play than pleasure. Like I said, pleasure for me is a newer relationship. I think because I've been working on pleasure longer, I've like had more time to like sift and sort like, ooh, this is my crunch around pleasure. With play, I'm like, oh fuck. Like I said, since I'm a child, we've been having play dates or go play, right? That was the thing when my mom was like, go play, go play. There's so much more stories around play, whether it could be good, bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter, but there's a lot of charge, like wrappings. I don't know why I'm seeing like a chicken wrap with bacon on it. You know what I mean? Like there's, and that does not sound good for me, but there's like more stuff around play for me. And a mantra that I love to say is, and this is something that I learned, is peace begins with me. And I actually do it on my hands. So it's thumb to pointer finger, middle, ring, pinky. Do it with me. Ready? Peace, and peace is thumb to pointer, and then we go down to pinky. So ready? Peace begins with me. And then, fun no matter what. Oh wait, no, that's not. I was going to teach you a thing and it's wrong. Okay, but go with me on this. So we're going to do this again. And this is like when you're having anxiety, I always go, peace begins with me. Okay, peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. Peace begins with me. And another one I say, which apparently doesn't match the pinkies, but we could still just, as a way to is, I know how to have fun no matter what. I know how to have fun no matter what. I know how to have fun no matter what. I know how to have fun no matter what. That's like a big mantra for me and like a big intention. So to me, even today, I have a full work day and I'm like, okay, Erica, play. How are we going to play in between those work calls? How are we going to have fun? How are we going to have fun? So I know how to have fun no matter what. Of course, disclaimer as always, that's not to bypass any trauma. That's not to bypass big shit that's happening in our life. Like, I'm going to make it light of this. No, that's not what I'm suggesting. What I'm suggesting is within the mundane, within regular life, how do we create fun? How do we create play no matter what? And it's funny, I want us to go to you. And before we do, you might be like, oh my gosh, we talked about so much resistance to play. We talked about the underbelly of play. But as you can imagine, like, I can give you reasons why play is great. But I'm sure you could feel like, this sounds corny, but like my spirit, right? Like when we talk about play, when we're in play, there's so much more of an innocence and a happiness. And like I said, there's a jadedness that's gone. So yes, there's actually like proof and evidence why play is great. And I love that shit, especially for my friends and, that are more like, I want the science. So great. Love that. But like I'm curious if you could feel into the energy of how different we feel, how much more alive we feel, how much more radiant we feel when we incorporate play more. Like I said, like I know for me, I want that. And it's so fucking frustrating because I made that little girl so wrong. And that little girl was such, if I have a little girls, but that is both an Annie reference and Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. Little girl. We have them both, people. We have Bravo and musical theater and one human. But I made that little girl so wrong. I was like, you're stupid, you're bad. And no, she was innocent. She was playful. She had gratitude. She could make a pebble into, a whole... I remember I would play a game with my best friends. And I think about, as an adult, I think about the logistics of that. I'm like, how the fuck what did that entail? And it was called Travel Babies. And I, like, logistically, I'm like, how did we have fun? But I genuinely had the bet. Like, we were little kids and we would go through their house and we'd be babies and we'd be traveling babies. And I have to actually ask them the logistics of this, but each room was like, okay, now we are in this place with lava and we have to jump from each thing to each thing. And oh my gosh, now we made it to the Caribbean. And like each room, like we would go through and make it Travel Babies. And now as an adult, I'm like, I don't get it. Like I don't compute. But as a kid, I was like, I would leave the play date and be like, I just traveled the world. Like the imagination on that is like, it's beautiful. And I know for me, I don't have that as readily available as I would like. And I'm grateful for things, thank God, that I'm a creative and I've had things like improv and acting and I've had these outlets. Thank fucking God, honestly. And I miss that. I miss that. Obviously I can't play travel babies all the time, but I miss that creativity. I miss that permission. I miss that freedom. I miss that energy. And so I'm sure that resonates with you in some capacity, and like I said, there's so many ways why play is fabulous. It makes us connected to our imagination, our creativity, our mission, our joy, our happiness. It makes me feel more relaxed. It takes the edge off of things. It takes the crunch, the stickiness, the story of blood, sweat, and tears. It makes me breathe a little bit more. I start not dreading things because it's not like, fuck, like today I have a full work day. Like full. And I'm like, if I don't have play, I'm like, God damn. But today I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's going to be fun because I dared myself. My intention is, yes, I have to see all these clients today and record this podcast and do this thing. They need to happen. But like, how can I make it so much fun? How can I connect with these people in between my sessions? How can I have a great time? Like, how can I've stopped dreading things and got excited. It's funny because you wouldn't expect it because the story is put your head down, blood, sweat, and tears, and work. And play, there's nowhere to be had. But in actuality, when I am in my play, when I'm in my radiance, fuck it, let's bring in pleasure. When I'm in my pleasure, I am way more successful and I am way more productive because I want to do the damn things. So if I went into this workday today like fuck, it would be a crunch. I wouldn't really serve my clients as much as I could. I wouldn't be as productive. But if I'm in my play, I'm like, fuck yeah, I'm in my play. I want to write a post. Or fuck yeah, I want to connect with this person. Like I am more in my flow, which is supposed to be part of my job as a coach. You know what I mean? Like I am supposed to be in my flow so I could hold space for you, so I could listen to my intuition. Like I, in fact, am more productive and more successful when I am in play. It sounds counterintuitive and our body's like, no, but it's true. I know I'm resistant to it too. So it's a thing. And you just feel happier. You feel happier. You feel more joyous. You feel freedom. You don't feel, for me, it's been a big, not everything, but it's unwound some of my anxiety, right? Because the anxiety is like perfectionism and move forward in this. And the play is like just a permission giver. It takes some of the fear is still there, but it shakes some of the fear of like, I'm going to play through this. I'm going to laugh through this. Again, not from a place of bypassing, but from a place of more, when it's healthy, when it's available, more spaciousness. So again, I want to turn to you because I talked a lot about myself, and this is your turn. And I know you through this episode, you've been thinking like, shit, like how does this resonate? How does this apply? So I want to hyper focus if that feels okay. And I was doing this with my client, actually. My client and I, we were talking about where it comes up for us, and we've been texting each other every day. And we're like, okay, like, how are you going to play today? A little bit similar to the pleasure challenge, just a different flavor. And so, she's like, I did this today at work. I'm like, cool. She's like, okay, what are you going to do? I'm like, okay. It's so fun that I get to do these challenges with my clients. I'm like, it's so fucking good. It's so rewarding. And I'm like, okay, I have to go to Target to get, what did we have? I forgot what we had to get, but we went to Target for something. And I'm like, I got to get in, got to get out of there. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go in and I'm going to the children's section. Like I'm going to the bouncy ball section, may ride a bike. Like I'm like, I'm going, and it doesn't have to be, I don't have a ton of time. It doesn't need to be a 30-minute adventure, but like 5 minutes, if me and Tim could throw a ball, and that's my partner, throw a ball back and forth to each other. Or if we could ride around the little, aisle in the bike, good with me. So we text each other, how are you going to play today? And I'm excited because I have that like accountability. Today I'm going to be like, I told her this morning, I have a full work day. I need to figure, and so does she. So we're like, okay, like within the contents of work, in the context of being an adult human, how are we going to add play? So that's my question to you. Before we get there, I want you to ask yourself, and I'm sure you've been thinking this, am I resistant to play? And why? Am I resistant to play and why? And give yourselves time to journal it out, be with it, unpack it. Again, I'm here if you need me to unpack some of that. Okay, so what's the resistance about? And then when we unpack some of that, how can I start to implement more play into my daily life? How can I remind myself I know how to play no matter what. I know how to play, and I know how to play. I know how to have fun every single day. So I want you to go ahead, unpack some of those sticky thoughts, and make it safe to have play in your life. Is it writing down every day ways that you're going to have play? Is it doing that like little challenge of, okay, how am I going to create play? But I want us to give permission. I want to give you permission and the freedom to, how am I going to add more play into my life? Like I said, I know how to have fun no matter what. I know how to have fun no matter what. I know how to have fun no matter what. And asking ourselves, how can I have play more every day? There's so much more I want to get into, but I'm going to leave you with this because I could go on and on and on. But I really, really, really want you to lean into this. Find the opportunities where you can play more. And I literally can't wait to hear from you. You know the deal. Feel free to email me, drop me a line on Insta, whatever feels good to you. I want to be available for you to support your play journey. I'm so excited to hear. And again, it's a journey. It's a relationship. This is going to evolve and evolve in different ways. And it's our responsibility to open up that relationship, to not keep it stuck in a corner. So I'm so excited if you take this dare to open up this relationship, be available for it, because it really is so potent and so powerful. I cannot wait to hear. So go play, go have the best time, and I can't wait to see you and talk to you next week. Okay, bye. Thank you, seriously thank you so much for joining me on today's episode and on this podcast journey. And if you loved what we talked about today and you know another human who could definitely benefit from what was discussed, I would so appreciate if you would go ahead and share this podcast with them. Don't forget, hit subscribe or follow so you never ever miss an episode. And the great news is you can always follow me, my work, my blog, my podcast on my website at www.wethelight.org. And hey, remember, life is so much brighter when we shine. I'll see you next time.